Hello everyone, welcome to the Dev Fireside chat. I am Matthew, joined by Alex and Mikko today. We're going to be talking about what's been going on in the office, the new gun that just got put up on the blog. So gunsofIcarus.com, you can see an image of it that's going into Alliance mode, and then we'll be talking about Alliance mode. The first questions, which are, we're going to be taking questions through the entire thing to kind of catch the first questions. Alliance is co-op, just a different name because it's sexier. So when you hear us talking about Alliance mode, have no fear, that's going into co-op, which most of you guys I know have pre-ordered, and you are ready for it, and we are ready, getting closer to getting ready to putting it in your guys' hands. So I guess to start us off with, Alex, how has the week been in the office?
Very busy. But Matt wasn't kidding when he said that we're hurrying to get this thing into people's hands.
Definitely. And, oh yeah, so the other question people are going to ask is, where's Howard? I believe Howard's just flew out of Japan, like, on the way back here, kind of thing. He was in Taiwan for a game dev thing, and I was chatting with him last night, but he's on his way back. I guess he's gotten away with killing Jacob, as our little Twitter meme is going to continue going. But you will see him very soon. For now, we've been loaned Alex. We're taking away from all his important work.
Hello.
Someone said, I ride for co-op, now I'm staying for the gun. So let's talk about the gun, Alex. What can people expect?
Okay, so the gun in this case is the lightning gun, of which you may have seen a preview on the blog. And may have seen a even older preview of the effect of the lightning gun that I sent out, I don't know, a couple months ago at this point, I think. Like a number of the weapons we're adding for Alliance, it is specifically designed for that. It's not balanced for player-to-player combat. It's balanced for players against swarms of AI enemies. So this particular one is a discharge of lightning that leaps from target to target. Starts fires, disables things, causes general havoc.
All right, and so you've used it. What do you think?
It's quite satisfying. You hold it down, you charge it up, depending on how big you want to go and how long you want to wait. You can hold it for quite a while and get a single big shot, or you can try to get out a few shots more rapidly. So there's always that little tension of, do I hold it this extra second to get the extra burst?
So we are finally putting a Tesla gun into the game. What changed from, you know, the first Flight of the Icarus where there was Tesla weaponry to Guns of Icarus where there wasn't, to Alliance where it's coming back?
It wasn't even anything that fundamentally changed. It was just a matter of we didn't have time to do it justice. And in Guns of Icarus Online, there was honestly not a very well-defined role for it to fill. Like, we kind of already have weapons that start fires, weapons that disable stuff. Everything we could come up with for the Tesla gun to do felt like kind of shoehorning it in.
All right,
but now we have a chance to do some more new novel stuff. We have some new roles to be filled. So good stuff.
Someone's asking, will this weapon be able to charge clouds, i.e. make storm clouds that hit everything?
No. You're making this way more indirect and complicated than it needs to be.
Giant lightning into ship, explode.
That's all it needs to do, and it does that quite nicely.
The basic death formula. So, Gilder...
Actually, the thing it's really good at is taking out squadrons of planes or ships, because they're all closely together enough for it to leap from target to target.
Yeah, I could see that.
So, the next question is, why does it not charge up clouds and make thunder clouds?
Well, again, kind of overcomplicating things here. Do you want your computer to be rendering giant thunderstorms constantly every co-op match? I think the answer is no. I think if I gave you that, you would regret it. Or you would blame me for it not running fast enough.
You didn't optimize your game. Well, we did. Unfortunately, there are giant thunderclouds constantly because someone put a module with 5 guns and charged 5 clouds. And fried every computer.
It's the flare gun writ large. You really want to subject yourself to that? Think hard here.
Yeah, that would be painful.
I think you don't. I'm going with you don't.
Any chance of the hold down effect being worked into the Minotaur to give it some degree of effectiveness? So basically the ability to charge the weapon.
Chance, I suppose.
Any plans for the harpoon gun, both in PvE and Alliance? That beloved weapon has so much potential.
So yes, the harpoon gun is very slowly getting some internal rework. There's a sort of amped up version of it planned as one of the other Alliance guns. And hopefully some of the improved behavior from that will make it back into the skirmish one that just hasn't been fully tested yet.
People are saying, yes, we need thunderclouds. I can survive on 10 FPS. You see, that's if you've got like a Titan card.
We're talking say about... that now. Say that now.
Yeah, right. I can just see it. I can just see the emails flooding in.
Minimum requirements, Titan Black card.
Yeah. Crisis 2.0. Like,
I played League of Legends on 4, I'll be fine. Man, I could not imagine playing one of those games on 4 FPS, so more power to you if you can handle that. Like, I'm not a, like, 60 or bust kind of guy, but 4 sounds just pushing it for the slideshow you'd be looking at.
That doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
Played CSGO on 5 FPS? What are you guys doing? This sounds frightful.
It does sound really painful.
Like, man, it feels like you'd be shot, and then, like, a couple seconds later, you'd figure out what happened. Intel HD is OP. Intel HD would explode with player-made thunderclouds. But I guess, so what are some of the other weapons that, you know, they don't have pretty pictures to show off, but the ideas of them have been talked about in the office?
We're looking on bringing back seeker missiles in some capacity. If you remember the very early beta days, we had those briefly, determined they were just not actually fun to use or to be have used upon you. But we can now get rid of the second half of that because the AI doesn't get to care.
Yeah, you see, I remember those being very unfun to be used upon because I was in a goldfish and it would just be locked down by a junker who just constantly hit my engines. I just had to wait there to die.
I remember those days. I thought that was a good idea once upon a time. Lessons we learned.
Okay, so I'm curious, in the meeting, were you shouted down or were you convinced that
Oh no, I was convinced.
Okay.
That was a...
Live and learn.
I had this whole idea about, like, there being a sort of little heat management element thing where you could kind of screw with the guidance on these things, but it just ended up being way too complicated for, you know, one weapon out of 20.
Made 20 weapons. One of them took the same amount of time as the other 19.
Yeah, it's not just development time, but, like, mental effort on the part of the players.
True, we're still taking time to convince people of what a hull versus armor is, so...
Oh, man. Yeah.
Will there be more ships to choose from? Possibly a super small ship that's hard to hit, similar to the practice ship targets in Guns of Icarus Online. Well, there will be more ships. There's 2 that are already like very close to done. There's like still touch-ups and things to look at and stuff, but there are definitely going to be more ships in Alliance that you can unlock and earn. They're kind of overpowered at the moment, which is one of the things we're definitely going to have to look at. And one of the things that are really holding them back from just saying, oh, and now straight into skirmish mode and have fun, because it'd be, okay, everybody's using the ship or everyone's losing, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Them balances.
Goaty Fire says, I don't know about tracking. The last thing I need is more idle gunner. I definitely agree. I mean, that's a big part of testing these weapons is it fun to fire? Do you feel like you're really enjoying the game, or are you just pressing a button and saying you're winning? I mean, those games are fun, don't get me wrong.
Believe me, one of the things we're considering in this revamp of it is that it does involve more direct intervention by the gunner. Like, I don't want to go into too much into the details because this is not release or test ready, and the details will certainly change by the time you guys actually get your hands on it in any form. But yes, we are thinking of that.
So actually, this would be a good time to talk. How does an idea change in the team? Like, so if someone comes up and says, I want tracking on a gun for Alliance mode. How does that change? Is it a meeting, an email? What kind of process do we go through?
So typically someone will propose something like that, and a bunch of us will sit down and kind of hash it out together, try to think through as many of the complications and edge cases as we can, and that'll turn into a first implementation of something, usually with terrible programmer art, cubes, or whatever. And then we start playtesting it internally, and results from that can lead to anything from more discussions and minor tweaks to, yeah, it's good, just let Eric play with the numbers, to, oh god, it doesn't work at all, start from square one.
Yeah.
Alright, and then are there any significant content for Skirmish in the near future? It always seems Alliance gets all the love and attentions, while Skirmish is that unloved child that got kicked out of the house during puberty.
Aww.
That makes me so sad.
Yeah, it does.
But unfortunately, I have to say that, no, there's not a lot planned for Skirmish in the near future. We may try to introduce more variants of existing maps or little things like that.
Yeah.
But yes, pretty much all of our effort towards producing new content or new mechanics is focused on Alliance mode right now.
Yeah,
and it needs to be, because we're small. It's a big project.
Well, and a very important thing is we want to focus on it so we can get it in your guys' hands as quick as possible, because if we split it, then it's like double the time. That timeline gets even longer and longer, and you guys definitely deserve to try out the game, give us your feedback. And as we've said, the more content we make in Alliance mode, like the new weapons and new ships, and like the new harpoon gun, we can bring those things back in certain ways, either the mechanics of them or them if we can balance them in a way for PvP kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like, there's no real work being put on Skirmish in this regard, but like things trickle down to it, maps or adjustments in the UI or lots of small things get readjusted. So it does affect Skirmish as much as it is from co-op. So.
Yeah, and it's not like work on Skirmish is done forever, we're never touching it again. It's just the focus right now is, oh my god, let's get Alliance mode out, let's get everyone working on that, make sure every part of it's as beautiful as possible before we start bringing players in, and the first comment we get back is, well, this looks terrible, or this UI is bad, or something like that. Which, we can see that normally. Like, we definitely get a lot of great feedback. We sometimes get the obvious ones like, hey, did you know this unfinished mountain is pink and ugly? Well, yeah, it is. A very important question. Mikko, what are you wearing? I think it's the hat.
The hat? Oh, it's a tam. It's something I used to have dreadlocks when I was like much younger, and I just got rid of them, but this kind of reminds me of one of those like painter's hats, and I was like, I wore like the other hats I've had to these meetings, so I figured just toss this one on today and see how it goes.
You used to have dreadlocks?
I did, yeah, down to here.
Wow.
My mom's a hairstylist, so I've had every hairstyle you can name and every hair color you can think of, like everything. And I've had 105 different hairstyles in 2 years.
I know, but well, first of all, you sound like one of the custom characters as someone just holds down the next button for an online game kind of thing. But dreadlocks, man, that says a lot about a person. Was that like your mom wanted to try dreadlocks, or you were really into dreadlocks at the time, or?
I actually, like, one of my friends from high school, who is also an artist, we got on well, and I just thought it was a cool style, so I wanted to try it out. And since I had the means to do it,
All right, I'm gonna call you hippie from now on, but.
All
right.
Call me experimental and adventurous, hairstyle pursuer.
That sounds like hippie talk. So someone's saying we want pictures of the baronies and the merchant ship. I will grab you guys a picture. I'll put it on the next blog post. Get you guys starting to see it. They're starting to look really good. So before it was, they have a shape but they don't have color, or they're still being reworked in ways that I don't feel comfortable being like, oh, and here's exactly what you're getting, because that's not exactly what you're getting. How about adding a in-game guide about stamina, like the book one? We did put some things in tutorial. We can look at doing one of the books. The books are a lot of work. and especially a lot of UI and artwork kind of thing. But we can look at more like in-game, this is what stamina is, because there are definitely people I run into that are like, what does the shift key do?
We should add a section to the manual at the very least if we haven't already.
True.
Yeah, there is,
I actually
there is
don't
a
know if we
wiki
have or not.
that everyone can feel free to contribute to as well if you want to like put in your own 2 cents there as well. Sometimes like having that input from other players is also really informative. So if you have anything you want to contribute to Stamina, do it on the Wikipedia, because that's also something that we tend to also show people if it's not in the manuals or anything. It's just a nice quick reference guide, really.
I donated to you guys a while back through PayPal because Guns is easily one of my top favorite games. Thank you. And I can't wait to see what you guys do with it in the future. I never received any confirmation from you guys, though, so just a receipt through PayPal, so I don't know if you got it or not. If you got a receipt, yeah, you are on the list. We haven't sent anything out to that list yet. Basically, the first email you'll get from us is, here's the code, go on Steam, here's when we're testing, blah, 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 kind of thing. If you want to confirm, don't worry, I definitely trust online paranoia is a good thing. You can send us an email, and we'll check to make sure we have it in our database kind of thing. And we'll definitely be, you know, putting up messages everywhere when we start pulling people in. And if you don't have something then yeah, definitely, you know, give us a poke or two. Is Muse hiring? So, Alex, what does the team look like? Is there anything that we're looking for? Any holes to be plugged?
I don't believe there's anything immediate. We keep an eye out for opportunities along those lines. Sometimes if we see someone who seems really cool, maybe we'll bring them in. But at the moment, there's no really obvious vacancies that I'm aware of.
So to confirm, to get hired to the Muse team, you have to appear to be really cool. So if you walk outside our office with sunglasses and a stylish hat, you will have a much better opportunity.
It doesn't help if you pour ice on yourself, just for the record.
Will there be new ship components that engineers will have to worry about? Possibly balloon armor or ammo storage that could explode or do damage to the ship if it's on fire for too long?
Because what the engineering game needs is to be more complicated. No, that is not planned. We are very seriously considering adding some new tools to the engineer's kit. Effectively alternate buff and modifier type tools that will be probably part of Alliance in some fashion or another. But that's the only significant change in the works there.
All right, and what if the captain could choose one type of advanced ammo that could be taken from a stash in the ship, and one load at a time?
Well, that sounds like that just makes it even less valuable to take gunners, so why would we want that? That's what you had. There's a whole class devoted to the idea of having ammo choices. That's why they're there.
Also, are the Raptors on the loose at background? Like, in the background of the game? Yeah. Oh, no, the shrieking! I figured out what you're talking about. Mikko is staying at a place that has birds, and one of the birds is really chatty. So he mutes himself, like, in between, but sometimes you will hear a squawk. There are not raptors loose there. Though
there are dinosaurs for certain values of the word dinosaur.
True, true. The birds are technically dinosaurs.
Yeah, we like to
specifically raptors, though.
Don't worry, the electric cages are still up. We're still good. It's all right, guys.
You spared no expense.
Exactly.
Guns has the is 100% the best community and dev involvement that I've ever been proud to be a part of. Well, thank you. We definitely try our best. We're here chatting with you guys because we like the sound of our own voice, definitely part of it, but because you guys like talking to us. So since you guys are here talking, asking questions, wanting to get involved, we love being involved as well. So you guys keep being awesome, we'll keep being awesome back. Will we ever be able to change our character's face or body, kind of like a character creator?
So that's one of those things that has been requested by many people for a very long time.
Including team members.
Including team members. Everyone is very excited about the possibility, but the amount of work it would take to do seems prohibitive. So at the very least, it's not happening anytime soon.
Though, if you do want to see some things the community has worked on as far as custom items goes, there's a new set of Grim items. A Grim mask and hat and icon, all this stuff, and they're amazing. So there's definitely some great stuff in the Steam Community Workshop that I recommend you guys go in, look at, upvote. I look through it all the time, and I love it. So
Yeah, that's a lot of good stuff on there.
put your hand in liquid nitrogen in front of the Muse offices. You see, that would definitely be cool, but you would run into the problem of not being able to work because of the massive amounts of self-harm you've done to yourself.
Unless you're a cybernetic organism from the future looking for Sean Connor. You never know.
And also a job at Muse, because that's how it works.
right,
I've been
exactly,
sent from the
yeah.
future to kill someone and to get a job with an indie studio. That sounds like one of those, parody movie things where they try to combine too many things, and so the guy's doing just random things to try to fill in all the scenes.
I feel like we have to make a reference to major blockbusters in the 90s throughout this whole conversation now.
You see, normally mine is just Star Wars. I just bounce off that, and enough people chuckle along with me.
70s, so...
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Let's be real. I mean, it'll be, Star Wars for life, but still, it's, 90s.
All right. Do you have any plans to help support the competitive scene within the game? Definitely. The biggest thing I want, and the thing I'm kicking and screaming for, but definitely Alliance Mode, getting that guys into your guys' hands is super important. Actually, more important is a launcher, and for multiple things. First of all, because then I can update it, say this event is happening. Every player in the game should be able to see it. It's in your face. It's there. But also, very importantly, the servers are down. And you should really know this instead of saying, hey, I can't connect, what's the issue? And we can instantly tell everyone, we've got maintenance, we're being DDoSed, the entire eastern seaboard is down. I don't know.
Yeah, this has actually been a really, talked about thing with a lot of people sending us feedback, is some form of, access to information that a lot of players don't actually, they're not aware of a lot of things that go on in the game, like events and stuff like that. So the idea is having this launcher involved would actually help that a lot. So, especially because it's up in your face.
The existing community screen was our first stab at solving that problem, but yeah, it's a little obscure.
Yeah.
The other thing in terms of supporting competitive, I'd like to pursue someday, is having more of a sort of tournament mode in the game where we can have a referee spectator with power to pause and unpause and manage some of the flow of the game.
That has been spec'd out for over a year now. Yep. And it is sitting in a pile of, man, wouldn't this be great?
No one has that time.
Yeah, no, it's
it's the unfortunate daily life of Muse. It's still a good idea, and still no one has time.
Yep. Will kicking people from a ship ever be a thing? No. It definitely promotes a lot of behavior we don't want. And I definitely understand it. Trust me, I have run into terrible people on the internet in Guns of Icarus and a bunch of other multiplayer games where I'm like, man, I really wish I could kick this, but we've noticed it tends to lead to even more negativeness and ganging up on, and there's a lot of negativity around it. There's an FAQ we have that talks about kicking if you want some more in-depth things. What we want to do is make better rewards for players. So if you play with a novice, you're an awesome person and you get massive rewards that you can show off to everyone, because basically you're saying, listen, I'm going to have a less efficient crew because he's a novice, he's not as good, it's not his fault normally, but I will get a huge bonus. He's basically a treasure chest on your ship. Yeah, it weighs down the ship, but you have treasure kind of thing. So that's the angle that we're going to be focusing on. I got an idea for a gun. It's the opposite of a flamethrower that freezes things. What do you think?
So this is something that has been raised before. One of the big problems with something like that is now we're introducing whole new status effects, and that has implications for more than just the gun. That means now the engineer has to be able to deal with those status effects somehow. How do they interact with the existing tools? We can't add an entirely new tool just to deal with one status effect. We already started to go that direction early on and discovered that we basically could afford one slot devoted to handling a special status, and that became fire.
And
and also, actually, someone just said this in the chat, and it reminded me as well. How is freezing something different from just disabling it? And if we can't answer that clearly, it's not worth it.
Fair enough. So, and also, very importantly, this is huge. Mikko, you were wrong. It is not Sean Connor, it's John Connor. So if you're gonna be making if you're gonna be making
that.
90s references, you have to get them right, or it's just embarrassing for everyone involved.
I'm
What
so sorry, Arnold.
what if gunners could use stamina to reload the gun on use faster? They actually can. So either I'm like misinterpreting that, and I'm sorry, and definitely correct me if I'm wrong, or we haven't done a good job of explaining that, which is also something we've done wrong. And let me know which one it is, so I can figure out which area I should be focusing on. But yeah, if you hold shift where you're a gunner and you're reloading, it reloads the gun faster. Unrelated, but how did you guys all end up at Muse? It's my life goal to one day to be part of a Muse-like studio. Any advice for a game dev wannabe?
My advice for a game dev wannabe is try making games, which is incredibly simple and not actually directly very helpful, I realize. I was sort of at Muse from the start, which evolved out of a different company making a website that happened to involve some 3D content, and then as that website sort of was phased out and died its quiet natural death, those of us on the virtual world aspect of it were like, well, wait a minute, we all kind of want to make games. We have the skills here. We need to make game. Let's try it, and that became Guns of Icarus.
All right, and I guess my story isn't as exciting. It doesn't involve the death and birth of a company. It's mostly I played the game, I became a community ambassador, and then I asked to do free work for them, and then I said, hey, you seem to like my free work, you should give me money so I can quit my job and do more work. And I got, yeah, I guess that sounds fine. And then I just did more and more work until I became a full member of the team, kind of thing.
Yeah. In my case, it was my career started off with D3 Publisher of America. It was a Japanese branch-off company here, but I was part of like several different titles, and then I started branching off to do freelance work, more in animation, so I can get more involved with that too. So came back to the States, and then kind of wanted to get back into the industry again, this side of the pond. So Muse had an opening, and I went for it. So kind of how I branched out there. I still do freelancing too. So.
Firaxis is saying, apparently you can put your hand in nitrogen for a short amount of time, but it doesn't actually do anything due to the Leiden-Frost effect. Which, it sounds like you have something smart behind that. I'm still not going to do it, though. I'll take your word on it, but I will not exercise anything on that. On the topic of deck swappers and AIs that exist for aesthetic, I thought it'd be if there were other people on the ship that rope to the bottom of the ship like repellers and polishing the hull. So I guess AI who don't do anything other than like little aesthetic things.
We have enough performance problems as it is without devoting your computer's resources to stuff that's that purely aesthetic.
Yeah.
Will something be added that would give a temporary boost of stamina that can only be used once per game, like a potato or a cooked drumstick?
Like food?
So, like, I guess a tool that either refills stamina quicker or
like
larger effects.
Adding some kind of consumable seems unlikely, just because now that's an entirely new, input and interaction mode.
Engineers
I
tend
can
to
foresee a tool that fed back into stamina somehow, although I don't know off the top of my head what would be an interesting thing to do with that. Something we could consider.
Yeah.
Anyone else think that naming stamina was a mistake and it could be easily misconstructed as to have a different function? It came off of the engineer running, which came out off of a meeting of what ways to make the engineer more fun and interesting. And trust me, there were everything from jetpacks to like rappelling ropes to other crazy things talked about. But the idea of parkour and moving quicker, and the big thing that a lot of other games have and was not as difficult to put in, was the stamina system, which is what if you just move faster and jumped higher kind of thing. So engineers could parkour better. I guess I can definitely see it for like gunner and pilot. It's kind of weird that I'm staminaing the ship faster kind of thing. But our hope was the idea of a consumable resource that recharges, which a lot of games also name as stamina kind of thing.
It's reasonably appropriate enough, I would say. You're just increasing the stamina of the ship as opposed to just where it's at.
So I guess my question is, if you do not like the name Stamina, what would you name it? And I will get down to your comment about that in a second. Can you make it so when novices are on an underdog ship, they have a money bag instead of a head? You know what? Considering the fact that we're basically turning them into a currency, I could definitely see putting giant dollar signs all over them, just to remind people, listen, he's worth something. Don't worry about it.
Oh my god.
It's like, you know, the unpopular character in a show that's there, and you just kind of keep him around to keep the show going. It's that.
To be fair, though, there's a lot of games that use that same mechanic of utilizing new players for experienced players' need. So it's kind of relative to that.
So I guess, give me an example of a game that like uses a new player.
EVE Online, for example.
True. There was...
Because constructing large ships or like, different mechanics they have in the game requires a lot of effort, but you can utilize new players to do certain things, and it would be lucrative for the players as much as it is for the experienced players as well. So, and it's kind of the ballpark. There's quite a few niche differences though, but I mean, the idea and the concept does play into that, so it does benefit both parties. So why not?
Is there any way to find out what our individual MMR is? There is not. I don't know my individual MMR, though technically I could find out. But I know we really don't want people to focus on MMR because it's a very teamwork-oriented game. So there are very few games, I'm sure, that you feel like you've lost because you lost. Like you did poorly or something you could do better. I mean, if you're really good, then yeah, you're very self-critical and be like, well, if I had ran faster or moved this, blah blah blah. But the fact is, our game is you don't even control where the ship goes if you're 3 out of 4 times for the crew. So it's definitely, you don't feel like your captain did well, which isn't you, and you get punished for it. It would be even more frustrating. So we definitely do not want to show off individual MMR kind of thing, because most people will not agree with it. Everyone says, I should be higher if I had a better crew, if I had X, if I had Y and Z kind of thing.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that doesn't play into a positive social atmosphere. So
yeah, like you guys are all probably mature enough to handle it, but imagine that crazy guy you've already run into in game, and imagine if he had a number to judge people off of. Then he becomes even crazier. That's the big problem. Yeah. Who came up with the idea of Guns of Icarus Online originally? I mean, the theme and the mechanics.
More of a collective thing, wouldn't it?
There was definitely a lot of collective stuff with it. The process of going from the original Now Flight of the Icarus to Guns of Icarus Online was long and involved, and involved many people and many conflicting goals that had to be hammered out over a long period of time. The core of the original design was a mixture of myself and a guy named Brian, who is unfortunately no longer working at Muse, moved on to other things, but was a big part of the original release of Guns of Icarus Online.
And someone's saying, I want to see Guns of Icarus Online realized in the Unreal 4 engine.
Why? What do you think? What difference do you expect that will make? Well, switching engines does not generally make things better magically.
I think it's just because if we've all seen the images and video from the new Unreal Engine, it does look gorgeous for the ones they show off, which of course they show off because they're the most pretty ones. So I think the term is you want to see Guns of Icarus with the latest, 100-man team graphics. Which
you want to see Guns of Icarus, using DirectX 11 compute shader geometry creation effects. You want to see, more detailed everything, more physically realistic lighting on everything. The engine
it's not about the
is
graphics.
Not the primary limiter there.
No, it's not the graphics, it's the aesthetics of a game that makes it interesting. So
hey, listen, if every strand of hair isn't individually rendered, the game's dead to me. I'm just saying.
Get with the times.
Yeah, come on.
20 frames a second. Let's do this.
One of the most popular emblems in the workshop is Serenity from the Firefly TV show, my favorite. So the point is that I named my Junker Serenity. Does that ever have a chance of being added to the game where you run into copyright issues? And any chance you'd call up Joss Whedon, who in the past has been okay with this stuff being used, and asking him? So if we didn't do anything, if we just put it in the game, we'd probably definitely run into some sort of copyright issue. Any chance we'd call up Joss Whedon? I would not mind calling him up. I don't have a way to contact him. I could look at that and see, kind of thing, if he's... Like,
that show's amazing.
I would definitely love to use my job as an excuse to talk to Joss Whedon. I like a lot of his work, kind of thing. The chances of me actually talking to him seem low. If you have an in with talking to him, let me know, and I'll definitely use it.
There we go.
Yeah. I mean... So the short answer to that question is copyrighted items where the copyright is owned by someone other than the person who uploads it to the workshop are never okay.
Yeah.
The effort we would have to do to vet and allow those things is immense. And so we don't.
And the amount of time we'd have to spend being laughed at by their lawyers is just not really worth it.
Yeah.
Because that's how the conversation mostly goes. Can we use one of your emblems for free? Ha ha ha. 10 minutes of that.
You know what? If you really want that, you got to go find the guy who made that logo originally and get him to upload it to the workshop.
There you go.
Yeah.
Whoever owns the copyright.
That's probably a better thing. If you want Serenity in game, you have to talk to Joss Whedon and get him to upload it.
Aren't the
and
rights
give us
to
confirmation. Huh?
It's probably not Joss Whedon.
It's probably not, but that's the name I know.
Fox owns the rights to that, so they would be the ones to call for that. Yeah.
Or talk to Fox. I'm sure they're going to be super into that idea.
Yeah, right.
They've been known to be reasonable, especially when it comes to Firefly.
Oh, poor Firefly. Rest in peace, man.
Yeah. So if ships got grimier over time, you could have new players swab your decks and it could give them some XP. Yes, we are going to make the visceral cleanup game, janitor game, and just add that on top of what people want to combine a bunch of games with Guns of Icarus. They want the chivalry close combat system. Now they want the janitor system from the visceral cleanup game.
We'll just have to take notes for like Guns of Icarus 3.0.
Yeah. Well, when we combine with all the other indie devs, we'll put them all together.
The super indie dev activate, like transform. No, but like different parts of different companies coming together and creating this.
Yes, it's going to be like the Power Ranger situation. There will be a monster too big for us to fight, so we'll have to combine.
Dude, that'll be legit.
There's your next '90s reference, Power Rangers.
Yes, there we go.
Not the foot.
Perfect.
If you don't want to show the MMR number because you want a social environment, why even have it in the first place? Because MMR isn't actually a badge of honor. MMR is a stat that the matchmaker uses to match up teams. Like it has a very practical use and application. The number exists because it has to exist. Otherwise, you can't really have a matchmaker that matchmakes it all. Showing it to players is an entirely different side of the equation, kind of thing.
It also calculates the underdog feature, so. That's kind of important as well.
Any reason why you chose the Unity engine? Would making the game be more visually impressive negatively impact the game in any way?
So this is
two parts.
Sort of going back to the Unreal question. Partly we chose Unity back in the day because we were already very familiar with it. And back in the day, we chose Unity because it had support for a web plugin. And it was the only engine available at the time that did. We could make the game more visually impressive in Unity. Like, that's not what's limiting us. What's limiting us is programmer and artist time.
So basically,
there is not a magical switch we can throw to bring the game into another engine that will like make all these things better.
In an ideal
world, if we wanted to try, that would be work of months or years just to evaluate how much work it would take to. Well, okay, now I'm exaggerating a bit. It would be work of months or years to bring the game into another engine, and it's probably more effective at this point to spend that time improving the game in the existing engine.
And for the second part, would making the game more visually impressive negatively impact the game in any way? I assume it's a simple time thing. So if you double the graphics fidelity, you cut the content in half, kind of thing, based on the same workload and time.
Yeah, that's a large part of it. Also, it impacts our ability to support a wide range of machines and players on lower end machines. If we have to author both low and high detail versions of everything, that doubles the workload again for creating any piece of new content. And like having more fallbacks and more optional modes, graphical options, things that you can turn on or off depending on whether you want the extra visual improvement that gives you, is nice and a thing we try to do, but it also increases complexity, which increases the amount of time it takes to maintain and to add anything else new. And there is, yes, there is a cost to improving the visual fidelity.
Will designs of future ships have different placement of engines, such as instead of having the engines always on the back, place them more in the middle, where they'll have more coverage, needing different angles of attack to destroy the engines, or having engines in the front, where the pursuer wouldn't be able to shut down the engines and will have to use other means to catch up?
Well, they could. All right. The positioning of the engines has a very direct effect on how ships turn, but as long as a couple of them are off-center in some way, the math works out, and you can turn with engines in the front about as easily as you could turn with engines in the back. There are it's questionably practical to have your giant spinning propellers upwind of the crew, but it's a thing that the game could support.
How's Guns of Icarus Alliance pre-alpha looking this week? Like a giant purple stain. And I say that just because one thing we tested out this week was a map where it was kind of confusing where to go, and there was just a giant purple stain kind of showing the trail, because we were just looking at different ways of showing it off and how the map would be with that kind of explanation. And it looked hilarious, and I really enjoyed it.
We're starting to make the transition on from maps that look like piles of cubes and, you know, terrible plain textures to the vaguely real-looking terrain. But it's definitely still at a transitionary stage.
It's going so fond of that too, you know? All those checkers.
Oh, and of course, Queso added in the next indie company we have to combine with. After your ship gets shot, you get embedded with shrapnel, and you have to play the Surgeon Simulator minigame. There we go. We're combining every indie game. It is Guns of Icarus, Surgeon Simulator, Chivalry.
Have you played that one? Have you played that game? Because I can just see it now, like, applying those same mechanics as an engineer on, like, a goldfish. And you're just like, I can't move my hand around or hit anything properly. Like,
oh, God. Repair the hull. It takes 5 minutes to bang a hammer against it.
To actually hit it, yeah.
Oh, God.
The ship gets hit again. It rattles everything around randomly. You lose the pieces you tried to put in place already but haven't bolted down.
Precisely.
Sorry if it was answered. I came in late. Do we have any release date for when we can play it for Guns of Icarus Online Alliance?
No. The goal is around the end of August, have our first build available to the early backers, the Kickstarter backers and such. Exactly how we will open that up, how quickly we'll be able to give people access to it, we haven't worked out all the logistics of yet. But if you are one of the very old school Kickstarter backers, you have first dibs.
And where do you see Guns of Icarus, both Alliance and PvP, in 5 years?
Oh, 5 years. That's...
If we are still a game that people play in 5 years, I will be amazed and flattered.
Yeah. I don't know, we're past, or we're almost 2-3 years now, right?
Yeah, so it's not like impossible, but multiplayer games that last that long, those are getting into like crazy classic territory.
Oh, true. Like, well, what I'm saying, though, is we've made it almost 3, which is much better than a lot of the multiplayer games I've seen on Steam that it keeps recommending to me. Which is unfortunate, because there are a lot of great ones. Showdown Effect was a game that tragically ended way before its time, and Bloodline Champions. 2 great games. Populations fell down, though. Oh, the the chat is in a fight between Spanner first slot or Mallet first slot.
Ooh.
God, it is the true difficult.
There is some talk about that. Addressing it.
Yeah, no, I mean there is talk of fixing it so when someone suggests you a loadout and it has the same tools just in different order, it goes to your order, kind of thing. So you don't have to fight with your captain if you like it differently.
Yeah, so if you have like a buff hammer and a rubber mallet, for instance, and someone gives you a shifting spanner and mallet, but the mallet's in the first slot, it'll just detect that it's there and just replace the other tools with the respective tools.
Basically swap around their location is the idea, kind of thing.
So no more debates about which one's superior, because everyone...
Oh no, the debates won't end, but at least your captain won't be forced to the debate because he didn't really care and he gave it to you in the wrong order, or he put Chem Spray first because he's a monster. Like, I had someone recommend that loadout to me. Only time I've ever declined a loadout. Chem Spray in the first slot. I just can't accept that.
Ideas abound. I should probably create like really crazy orders when that happens, and then just start giving them to people. Like, it wouldn't affect them, but it would be like, what is this monstrosity, you know?
So the deadline for your Alliance is August 31st, is what someone said. Oh, questioning. I guess I'd view it more as a goal, Alex.
Yeah, that's the goal. That we will have a build that we will be getting some people into.
Yeah,
that is not the final build of Alliance. That is the first early beta. People get to actually play it publicly.
Yeah, deadline makes it sound like we're going to start cutting off people's fingers if it's missed. Goal sounds like a more operative term, but yes, that would be the goal date kind of thing. Wait, actually legit, you know how TF2 added a heavy surgery into Surgeon Simulator? What if we got them to add a hull surgery mode?
The whole ship would fall apart. Like, they wouldn't even...
Oh, no, I think, no, like, there's a minigame in Surgeon Simulator that involves the heavy. He's saying, what if we talk to them and focus on... I don't think we're as big as, you know, Valve kind of thing where they... I'm sure there's a lot of conversations and stuff that happen in the background and cross-marketing stuff. But hey, if they came to us and said we want to make a hull simulator based off your hull, I think we could definitely talk about that. So if you're watching and you're a dev for Surgeon Simulator, contact us.
Yeah.
Is there any plan for more customization, like badges or something for ships, more flags to give individuality?
There are not currently plans for new kinds of customization. I believe at some point we do hope to continue expanding the existing offerings of figureheads and deck themes and decals and such. Dyeable decals someday.
Any future plans for promoting the game besides Steam sales? Definitely. We got to try out Humble just this last week. Humble is great. There's definitely a lot of new players from there. There was great. We also discovered something. People from Humble rate games more negatively than people from Steam. Just a little bit of background numbers. It's just kind of weird. We lost like 0.1% or something, but it's an actual dip we got from Humble. But we got a lot of great people, and they're like, if you came from Humble, don't be like, oh man, you're all negative and I hate you. It was just curious to see. And my assumption is, it's not like the people who came from YouTubers were like, oh, I saw the game and I liked the game. It was, listen, I got the game in a pack of 6 and I tried it out and it wasn't my cup of tea. So just definitely interesting thing, but we're definitely going to be hitting every angle we can, talking to the traditional media as well, talking to YouTubers, doing everything we can. We've made it 3 years. We'd love 3 more. We'd love 9 more kind of thing. So anything that we can do to keep the game going and make sure you have people to fight against and with.
Yep.
There was a multiplayer indie game, Cult of the Wind, that was already dead at release. Well, that's unfortunate. You know, there's a lot of great games that, unfortunately, you know, there's a finite amount of people, and you know, it's hard to get out there. That, as we always say, the hardest thing of an indie dev is getting people to notice you, because there are a lot of great games out there. I mean, there's a lot of bad games as well, but there's a lot of great games that capture a lot of time. I mean, we all know of GTA. A lot of us have probably played GTA, and that's time that an indie dev's not getting, which isn't bad. GTA is a great game, kind of thing. I'm gonna start cutting off people's fingers if it's missed. I'm sorry if I gave you an idea. Please do not cut off people's fingers. You didn't even say, like, Muse employee fingers, so now I'm just worried that you have people you keep around for the process of cutting off fingers when you're displeased.
Like a handful.
Which, if that's the case, I don't know if I want to know so I can report it or not want to know, because I just don't want anything to do with it, so...
Oh, reports will start flooding in.
Will the Skywell ever become a reality?
Skywell is already a reality. You just have to know where to look. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
True that.
Or even badges that people can wear, or something like Call of Duty. It definitely just comes into workload and what we can fit in and ways to show things off. We already have a lot of systems in place, which we definitely want to keep adding to. And, you know, if we ever get time, which I know is a hard thing to say, we can look at more systems. But right now, just kind of expect the new ones with more stuff.
Yeah.
Could there be a way to ignite a cloud of smoke during the battle? Like you run away, release black smoke, and ignite it with the enemy ship inside? Unfortunately, that would probably also ignite most graphics cards as well.
I was going to say.
There's a distinct problem with that. This is something that has been brought up before. It's part of the original idea for the tar barrel. In practice, actually, just the cloud can deal damage. That's enough.
Yeah.
So apparently the chat is very stuck on fingers. So not only has Howard killed Jacob, which is what the screaming was, and that's why Howard's on the run. Now I also have a bucket of fingers, and fingers will be mailed to me daily until the game is released. And there will apparently someone wants to work on fan art of Kevias with a bucket of fingers.
I'm getting a little uncomfortable here.
Wow.
I kind of want to keep my fingers. Do I need to create some distance?
I know. Hey, I'll actually let you know. Part of my top 3 fears, one of them is losing body parts. Like, if you've ever seen the movie Looper, like the scene where they cut off the guy in the past body parts and you saw the future guy start losing them, like, that is my literal nightmare made manifest. That was hard to watch.
Looper, I think I wanted to see that, but I don't think I managed to, because I don't recall that scene.
It's a pretty basic blockbuster. Like, it's not great, it's not bad.
Basic blockbuster, as opposed to a complex blockbuster, and those semi-complex ones. Let me tell you what.
Well, I mean, so like, Avengers would be a great blockbuster. Like, it's a very action-oriented, it's very big, and it's very loud. Whereas Looper is a very, like, it's okay. It's a blockbuster, so there was enough money to make it decent, but it's not like revolutionary.
Yeah. I remember seeing the second Matrix film, the one with the architects, and that whole first scene. I remember watching. I was like, what did I just hear? Just, it was a lot of information to digest at once. Some people get it right off the bat, but I was
wait.
Whoa.
Did you watch the second one without watching the first one?
No, man, come on. The first one is what made Matrix.
I know, I'm just making sure, because in my mind, there were no sequels, and I know we're getting really off topic, but there were no sequels to the Matrix movies. There was only the first one, and then there were 2 movies that for some reason were called The Matrix, but had nothing to do with the movie I saw before.
Right, yeah. Exactly. They were just fanfics, you know? They're like the little add-ons, DLCs.
You should add the Skywell without telling anyone and let it only show up once every 2,000 games, and people would really question whether it's real or not.
Sounds like where we are right now.
Why is the window for vote to rematch blocking view of crew of the second winning ship and ones after that? There's a very simple answer to this. It was added later, and times have not been readjusted. The end screen is going to get a lot of rework and redone, so you'll definitely be able to see people, and we will not cut people off anymore. It's definitely a frustration. I have been cut off and be like, no, look at how my awesome purple captain. Oh, I'm blocked by the vote screen window kind of thing.
We're just demonstrating our artistic design in massive canvases with very small design.
It's
Keeping it
about a
very-
minimalist approach of a
Yeah.
giant brown box with
Zeroing
one
in
button. Well, actually,
the
that was a
importance.
design choice. Like that, it wasn't a let's just we have no other box sizes. We said we need a box that has one thing to do, which is vote. And people can decide not to vote, but it's not because it's hidden or there's anything else to distract them. There is you either vote or you do not vote kind of thing.
There was more content to that box, if I recall, but it was reduced. So yeah.
There was, and then people wouldn't vote. People are terrible at voting. It's true in
Couldn't
games.
find
It's
the
true in
vote
life.
button, if I remember correctly.
And see, some people said that, but the real problem was people would ignore it because they'd be like, "Well, there are many things on the screen, and it's a very short amount of time to vote because we don't want to say, hey, wait 5 minutes while people decide if they want to vote or not."
Precisely. Yeah. Just keep it quick.
I want a costume that lets me wear a crop top. Hashtag crop top. I'm really excited that someday we'll be adding in more Steam Workshop options for people to work on, and I'm really excited to see what terrible, terrible things people come up with. Not that the crop top's bad, but I do not think it'll fit the theme. And, we're already pushing the limits. I believe all my characters have eyewear, but that's because I'm very practical, and if you're flying through the sky at high speeds, you want something covering your eyes. Because a bug at 60 miles an hour is not fun to get in the eye. If you've ever ridden on a motorcycle, you would know that as well, that you kind of want something covering your eyes, because a slight bit of gravel really hurts.
Yeah. Ouch.
What happened to the B-roll footage that was supposed to be used at the Sony Indie support booth? Will we ever get to see any of that? I believe some of the footage was put up on the YouTube. I'm now going to check quickly as someone else keeps talking so I don't ramble.
That's fine.
Just keep talking for a second while I...
So, about them whales, am I right?
The whale's everywhere. The whale knows all.
Oh yeah.
The whale sees
definitely.
you even if you don't see it. That's the whale.
This is the whale. The game is the whale, and people didn't even realize it'll be a massive shocker, like a plot twist.
Huh, I don't actually see it up on our YouTube. I thought it was. I will figure that out, and then we'll get you guys set up with that, so... let you see some of the footage of what's being worked on and whatnot. Any news for cross-platform play?
Is that referring to the
Consoles.
Consoles.
the consoles? Okay. If there is any news.
It's going to happen
The
at some
PS4
point.
version is kind of locked in an awkward position by having some issues with upgrading the game to the newer versions of Unity that we haven't fully worked out yet, and we need to in order to bring it to PS4 and a bunch of other little logistics. As far as I know, cross-platform play is still the plan. The only wrinkle there that we're still working out is how exactly we're going to handle voice chat.
All right, so there you go. And we have actually caught up with all our questions at a perfect time. So I will take one or two more questions, and then we are out because the Iron Forker Friday is going to happen. We're going to host that here. And then tomorrow we're also going to host on the stream the Aerodrome 3, which we are taking a step back from the week. We demolished the first week because we're just perfect at the game and have never lost ever. So, going to let people have a chance. If you want to hear more of our Smack Talk, though, you can join us on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5 p.m. for the Dev Games.
So real.
There is so much Smack Talk. The trash talk is
so real.
ridiculous. Like, Alex, do you ever hear from the other room the stuff that Howard says to us?
I see the stuff Howard says in chat. Occasionally I'm on his ship and hear him talk.
Oh, he is a sassy thing. To be fair, we all are.
Yes.
When we are all on stream. Could there be a Minimap mobile side app?
What?
Whoa. That would be amazing. I would get that app.
Don't understand what you're expecting to do with that app.
Basically, for the match you're in, you basically have the M key on your phone.
Oh. Huh.
yeah, spectating that, it's, you know,
Weird but interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's it definitely comes down to work time kind of thing.
Yeah.
If
yeah.
there, hey, you know what?
If we're gonna start getting into I need multiple displays to play this game, which I don't think we're there, but maybe. Actually, the first thing I would want to do is put some extra information on a second monitor if it's available. It's like a couple of RTSs have dabbled with this, like Supreme Commander I know did, where you could have 2 different zoom levels of the map on 2 different screens.
I really enjoyed that for Supreme Commander, I will say. They're actually one of the only games, I think, that have taken 2 monitors to an actual useful level.
Hmm.
Yeah, maybe we should look into that. Pretty neat concept.
People are talking about putting fingers on the Steam Workshop. Okay, if someone makes
boy.
a good finger decal, or bucket of fingers decal, I will talk to Tim about it. But it has to be good and high quality.
Dude, I can just see it now. It's like a finger crown, you know, and like a finger suit.
You know what? I'll leave the creativity up to the team.
Crazy.
But if people actually do it, I will fight for it. I will be the first one standing there saying, Tim, this is the decal I want in game, and I will use it on all my ships. So with that, though, we have reached 4 o'clock. We are going to end for the day. Go, my finger minions. Have fun in Guns of Icarus. Join in the Iron Fork of Friday in-game, or watch it here. But with that, we will see you later. Thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you guys later. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Take care.